Hello and welcome back to Beyond the Plot podcast. In today's episode, I'm joined by the best-selling author Ali Lowe. Ali is known for her gripping, character-driven thrillers that explore family secrets, power, and the darker side of seemingly perfect lives. Her brand new novel, The Second Wife, is out on the 12th of March, and it's already creating lots of buzz. The story follows the wealthy Fairchild family on a luxury cruise from Sydney to the South Pacific, where a surprise succession announcement, simmering tensions, and buried secrets turn a glamorous getaway into a deadly voyage. Think high-stakes family drama with the twist of a psychological thriller. In this episode, we go beyond the plot to talk about Ali's writing process, the inspiration behind her books, and the stories about power, privilege, and family dysfunction and how they're so irresistible. If you enjoy conversations with great storytellers and a peek behind the curtains of how books come to life and how authors become published, make sure you hit the subscribe button to follow this podcast. Also share it with your friends, families, and colleagues. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode with Ali Lowe. Thanks, everyone. Bye. Hey, Ali, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, anytime. I'm actually really happy to have you on because obviously you're a fellow Brit as well, obviously having moved to Sydney. And I'm really interested in kind of the stories that you write. And I know that you've got your latest novel coming out on the 12th of March. So really excited to share your story. Before we step into it though, do you want to give the listeners just a brief overview of yourself?
Of myself, well, I am obviously a Brit, born and raised, and was a journalist in the UK for many, many years. So the first job I had in journalism was working for like a teenage mag, doing all sorts of like answering questions about sex and all this kind of stuff that my mom was really unhappy about. And then moved into celebrity magazines where I worked. I worked at OK Magazine, which I know you will know, for several years before moving to Sydney and freelancing and then going into novel writing. So it's kind of felt like a natural progression. But other than the books, I am a mum of 3 with 2 cats and a dog. And I live on the northern beaches, so life's good.
Life is busy.
Yeah, life is really busy. Yeah. Real trip busy.
Yeah. That's so, I love that. And actually, do you know, I interviewed Izzy Broom a few months ago and she has a very, do you know her?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't know, we're not friends, but we're Insta friends and she's lovely. She seems lovely.
Yeah, she is lovely. She's got, apart from moving to Australia, but had a similar story to you, worked in magazines and then stepped into becoming an author and progressed through that way.
It does seem like a kind of natural switch over for a lot of us. Yeah.
Well, did you, obviously out of uni, before you kind of got into, being a journalist and working in, those teen magazines, had writing always been a part of your life? Is that something that you wanted to step into, but happened just to fall into kind of, working full time for an organization?
I didn't sort of, I wasn't sort of writing things in a notebook beside my bed and thinking this is going to be a best-selling book when I was little, but I always did have a notepad by my side. And my sister says that she has memories of me, would sit and watch EastEnders and I'd have a notepad on the side of the armchair and I'd just be scribbling in it. And I was always writing poems. And I had a song when I was about 13, had a song entered to the BBC Christmas Song Contest.
Oh, wow.
It was absolutely terrible. I can remember it, but I'm not going to sing it. And so I was always writing, but I wasn't getting amazing reports from school about my writing. It wasn't like I was some kind of prodigy or anything, far from it. I wasn't great at school, and it was really at uni when I kind of blossomed, and I did an ancient history degree, and I was doing a dissertation on one of the emperors, one of the 12 Caesars, and that was like 90,000 words, and that was my first kind of foray into writing, long form. I actually really enjoyed it, and I didn't do very well in it, but I really enjoyed it. And I started writing for the university newspaper at the same time. And then it kind of, got to the 3rd year and I was thinking, what am I going to do after uni? I have no clue. I love writing for the university newspaper. I was writing for the Classics magazine. I had no clue. And a friend of mine, my best friend actually, was applying for Cardiff Uni's postgrad course in journalism. And I was like, oh, she's doing it. We get to live together for another year. That sounds good. And I think I do want to be a journalist. So I applied for it. She applied for it. We both got on. Had a year in Cardiff, and it was a really good course. It taught me sort of the ins and outs of magazine journalism, and then I went on to work in teen mags. So yeah, it
Wow.
kind of. I was always a writer, but I don't
Yeah.
think I was a particularly good writer. But really, sort of the long form essays at uni kind of really maybe fueled my love of writing and made me realize that I loved to sit there and really get deeply involved in writing something. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'll credit uni with that.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's good. Yeah. When you have to start writing those essays, they're quite lengthy and all the research that you have to do as
Yeah.
well, right? It does step you out of your comfort zone. Whether
Yeah.
you like the topic or not, it is a good kind of exercise to do to, yeah, start being able to write, you know, many more words.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
in terms of being a journalist then, like, and working for OK Magazine, when did you then think, right, actually, I want to start writing a novel? Like, when did that kind of happen for you, and what did that look like?
Well, I mean, I did try and write a novel when I was living in London, and loads of people have said to me before, "Have you ever tried to write a novel before?" And I've been like, "No, no," because I think I've blotted that out of my mind because it was
Hmm.
so traumatic. But I did. Well, it wasn't really traumatic; it was just lots of rejection. But I tried to write a book when I was working at OK Magazine when I was probably in my very early 20s, and it was about a reality TV star who went to Barbados and was murdered. And I sort of wrote 3 chapters that were probably, well, I know they were really terrible. There's no probably about it. They were terrible. And I sent them off to, in those days, you know, you'd print it out and you'd send it via
Yes.
post to an
Yeah.
agent. And I got all these letters back. And I remember one of them saying, "This is quite disappointing for a, you know, magazine journalist." And I was like, "Oh God, this is awful." So I was like, "No, never doing that again." And then just carried on through, you know, my career, moved to Australia, had 3 children, went freelance part-time so I could manage the kids. And then I actually interviewed, I was doing a lot of work for the Mossman Daily and the North Shore
Yep.
Times.
Hmm.
And one of the cover stories they asked me to do was with Jacqueline Moriarty.
Oh
And
yeah.
Jacqueline, so gorgeous, just such a lovely lady, and so, you know, obviously such a talent. Um, Said to me sort of towards the end of the interview, "Have you ever thought about writing a novel?" And I kind of said, "Oh, well, yeah, I have." Because I had, but I'd never really had the kind of confidence, or I'd never really thought it was possible because I'd
Mm.
given it a shot years ago and it was terrible. It wasn't for me. You know, I was writing short form news articles.
Hmm.
And Jackie said, "Well, look, there's a really good course that my friend runs for the Faber Academy Writing a Novel course run by Catherine Hayman. You know, maybe think about that." And I went away and I thought about that, and I thought, you know, maybe I'll apply. And at the same time, I'd written another piece on a pastry chef in Mossman, and the editor of the Mossman Daily had said to me, "This is really good. You know, you should think about writing, you know, prose." And the two of them kind of united and
Yeah.
propelled me. And I thought, right, okay, it just gave me the confidence to go,
Yeah.
okay, right, I can apply for this course. And I had to submit 1,000 words and send it in, and you know, and then they would offer you a place or not. And I got offered a place. And I just happened to have gone out for dinner a few nights before with a girlfriend. And she she said to me, I remember it really clearly. She said, "Oh, I've got some gossip for you. There's a family at my kid's school, which I will not name, but a local school to us, not my kid's school, but hers." And she said, "And they're swingers." She said that, you know, like at all the school events, you know, they're swinging. And I was just fascinated. And I was kind of saying, you know, can you imagine what that would be like at the school gates? And, you know, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I was like, how embarrassing, you know, awful. You know, what would you do? Kind of thing. What if someone got pregnant, and all this
Yeah.
stuff, all these scenarios going around in my head. And then I started the Faber course. And on the first week, Catherine went round the table and said, "Does anyone have an idea for a novel?" My hand shot up and I was like, "Well, I've got this idea about this school, and for one night only, perhaps they're camping or it's a trivia night or something, you know, that these people partner swap." And Catherine was like, "Oh, that's really commercial. You should stick with that." And I did, and that was the trivia night. That was book number 1. So yeah,
That's
it kind of
crazy, isn't
feels
it?
like everything I did up to that point almost
Yeah.
led me there. It was, you know, it kind of felt like, looking back, it seems like it was seamless, although it wasn't. You know,
Yes.
it
Yeah.
was a lot of hard work to get there. But yeah, every step I've taken, I guess, I feel it was a stepping stone.
Yeah. It's crazy actually how, like, it's like the universe telling you something, right? Like, those three moments pieced together kind of then
Yeah.
helps you step into kind of releasing that first novel,
Yeah,
writing it, and then
absolutely.
getting the support. I mean, with the course that you did then, was that the first course that you kind of had done to kind of help you upskill yourself?
Yeah, it was the first course. I mean, I'd just been busy working in journalism, and I'd had
Yeah,
had a 1-year-old when I started Faber, so I hadn't, I've been freelancing at home with my baby,
yeah,
like baby in arm, typing, doing interviews while baby napped and stuff like that.
yeah,
So I hadn't really, and I'd had 2 children before that, so I hadn't really had time for any of that.
mhm,
It hadn't occurred to me until Jacqueline and, the editor of Mossman Daily had both said to me around the same time, and I literally the first course I did was Faber, but it was so good. It taught me
yeah,
as a newspaper journalist how to, take a story that I mean, I'd spent my whole career trying to condense big stories into a tiny little box on a screen,
yeah,
and this taught me how to really be free and to take that and, to use lots of description and stuff like that,
yeah,
which I hadn't been able to do before. And Faber taught me that and how to structure a novel,
yes,
and how to, avoid it getting, they call it a saggy middle, as
yeah,
like, the middle of the novel kind of dipping. And
yeah,
it was just so good in terms of structure, characterization, everything. It had 2 parts to it, the course.
yeah,
And yeah, I loved every minute. And also, it was really nice for me personally because I was putting my baby down and I was going out on a Tuesday night and I was spending 2 hours doing something I loved, was
yeah,
writing, and then I was going back and the kids were asleep, and it was like I had a few hours when I wasn't mum,
yes.
and that was really precious, so yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Did you do the course? Like, did you write the whole novel while you were doing the course, or did it just help you build the structure and make sure that you kind of knew what you needed to do to actually complete the manuscript?
I did most of it. So the course was there was a part 1 and a part 2, and there was a
Yeah.
couple of months break between them. So in that couple of months break, I mean, I wrote lots of scenes in the first part of
Mhm.
the course, and in the couple of months break, I pushed on. And then in the second part, which was 3 months long, I sort of loosely completed it or almost completed it. And then afterwards, I had mentorship with Catherine,
Yeah.
because she offers mentorship, still does. And she was fantastic. And during that time, which I think was about 6 months, I completed it almost. I didn't edit it, but Catherine helped me get it ready to send
Yeah.
off. And part of the Faber Academy course is that they produce an anthology,
Yeah.
which is like a paperback, which then lands on desks of agents in Sydney and London, and my agent's in London. And she picked it up and read the chapter that I'd submitted and asked for a full. And luckily, I had completed it almost by then. Catherine had said to me, I don't think it's quite ready. And I'd kind of ignored that because stupidly I'd said to my agent, oh, I'll have it to you by the end of the week. And then I was like, Catherine said it's not ready. Oh my God. But sent it anyway. And
Yeah.
luckily I managed to scrape through and get a representation.
That's amazing though. So how long would you say it took you from like starting to finishing it and submitting it to the agent?
Oh gosh. Okay. So the course started, I think it was like March 2019.
Yeah.
So it was a year, and
Yeah.
then I think I was offered representation January 2020, and then
Yeah.
offered a book deal May 2020. So it was
Amazing.
really fast, actually. I was really
Yeah.
lucky. I think, my agent was looking for a book exactly in that genre.
Yeah.
My publisher had lived in Sydney, loved Australian books.
Yeah.
So she wanted to take a punt on the trivia night. She loved the story. So everything was in its right place for me. And
Yeah.
I always feel bad telling that story because I'm aware that it's not that easy for everyone. And it was,
Yeah.
it was stressful. Of course it was. I
Yeah.
was waiting by my phone. I had rejections when it was on
Yeah.
submission. It wasn't, a walk in the park by any means, but I was lucky I didn't have to write 4 novels before I got an agent. I
Yeah.
don't know whether I would have had that in me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very lucky. Everything was in the right place at the right time. But I was also very
Yeah.
determined, and I listened to all the feedback that I got
Yeah.
from Catherine, and I really took that on board. So,
Yeah.
I worked hard to
Yeah.
make it right. Even though Catherine has said wasn't quite ready. No, but I had worked really hard on it, and
Yeah.
I was proud of it. And but yes, I was lucky. It was a bit of
Yeah,
both.
and I think everyone's journey is so different. I mean, you still like it's not like you came out of uni and submitted a manuscript and got, published straight away. You still had to go for a different journey, right? That took you then to come to
Yeah.
Sydney to then, working as a journalist, going on this course, getting a lot of like investment and time where you had to kind of hone on your skill set.
Yeah.
So I think like, yeah, I don't think your journey necessarily is like a breeze and, a walk in the park, for instance. Like, I think it's just slightly different. And you're right. There's other people out there who maybe they have sent a manuscript, but I also do feel that at times, and some of the authors that I've spoken to, they said again, they would write a novel, but not necessarily get any help. They would just submit it. And then it wasn't until maybe they thought, oh, hold on a minute, maybe I do need some help
Yeah.
with this. And then they would go and get some help. And once they did that, they actually became quite successful. So I
Yeah.
think it's a key message, right?
And I was lucky I had the support of my husband as well, who, because I had 3 young children. It wasn't,
Yeah.
that was also quite a juggle.
Yeah.
Um, but luckily he was very good and was very much like, I think when I first told him I wanted to be a novelist, I think he was like, "Oh God, really? What's she gonna choose next?" No. But, and then when it actually came to the crunch, I had that support as well. So that was, obviously
Yeah.
very helpful.
Yeah, that's great. And do you mind me asking what made you move to Australia? Have you got dual citizenship?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have. Yeah, so we've been here since 2006. So,
Okay. Wow.
oh my
Yeah, long
goodness,
time. 20
actually,
years.
we've just gone past our 20-year anniversary and not realized it. That's funny. Yeah, so we've been here 20 years. We moved because I was working at OK and I came out here on a holiday to see a friend, to visit a
Mhm.
friend who just moved here. And it was a very rainy day. I went and sat on Bondi Beach and it was pouring. I was like, oh, I'm just going to go to an internet cafe because it was in the days when we
Yeah.
actually had internet cafes. It was unreal. And sat in there and sent my resume off to a few magazines. And I ended up getting an interview for a celeb magazine that's now closed
Mhm.
and getting a job there. And I worked there for a few years and well, ended up basically going back after this holiday and saying, I've, accepted a job. Bye,
Yeah.
mom. Back in a year. I wasn't, and I ended up staying. And because I think, as you'll be able to verify, it's such a beautiful place to live, and you get very
Yes.
sucked in by Sydney or by Australia. So
So once you got your agent and
yeah.
then you got obviously your first publishing deal, what did that look like? I mean, did it go straight out to the UK market? Were you lucky enough to then have it in Australia and the UK?
I had it in both countries, yeah. So I was very lucky, but Australia's always been my main market.
Yeah.
What I did, I waited 2 years between signing the contract and the
Hmm.
book coming out. So I signed the contract, I think May 2020. Book came out February 2022. So yes, went out in both territories.
Yeah.
But yeah, Australia, it just seemed to sort of take off. It was really good. I mean, I was really lucky because the beautiful Sally Hepworth gave me a blurb for the
Oh,
front, and I had
no.
lots of support from lovely authors.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was a nice first publishing experience. Let's put it that way, yeah.
Was it a bit surreal seeing your books like somewhere like Dimmocks, for instance, and just
Oh
walking into
yeah.
the store?
Yeah, I mean, it still is, to be honest. And even my kids will go into Dimmicks and take pictures for me. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
really sweet. But yeah, no, I still get that buzz. But the first time round, I think it was almost a bit surreal. I think it was almost
Mhm.
like it wasn't happening to me. It was quite sort of, I'd look at it there and I'd be like, is that mine? And the overwhelm was real. And I think it was only sort of second, third, and fourth times now that I've you know, not I haven't been complacent about it, but I've been a lot more
Mhm.
relaxed about it. I haven't been quite so, oh my God. And
Yeah.
not, first thing you do is look at it and go, is there a spelling mistake? And oh my God,
Yeah.
I can't look at it. What if what if the title's wrong or something like that? Whereas I don't have that anymore. I'm a bit more sort of like, oh, there she is. And a bit more
Yeah.
relaxed. So yeah,
Do
but there's
do you
always a
feel a bit more pressure now though that you are an established author, and do you feel like there's an expectation from like maybe your followers, your readers, your publisher, to keep producing? Or do you feel like, no, I feel quite comfortable. I'm quite, I'm in my zone. I know what works and I can keep producing
oh,
this work.
I think I've got so much to learn, but I think because I've been a journalist for so long
Mhm.
and I've had to produce work without worrying about feedback. I
Yeah.
mean, like when I worked at the Manly Daily, which is on Sydney's Northern Beaches, worked there for a while, and you're producing what, like upwards, you can produce up to 10 stories a day. There might be little ones, or
Yeah.
or five bigger ones, or whatever, and you don't have time to think about whether what people think.
Yeah.
You have to just write and be confident in what you're writing. And I guess I do have that sense of, I'm writing, I write like what I want to read, basically.
Yeah.
So I write something and I try to enjoy writing it.
Yeah.
I think in terms of like when you get the odd bad review, yes, that knocks you a bit and it can make you think, oh God, can shake your confidence a bit. But
Yeah.
usually I take that with me into the next book. And if someone says, oh, all her characters are really unlikable, then I might just have a think about maybe throwing in a nicer one in the next
Yeah.
book. But then you might get a review that says all her characters are unlikable. I couldn't read it. And then you get one that said all her characters are deliciously unlikable. So you're
Yeah.
like, you can't please everyone, and you have to,
Yeah.
I have to sort of tell myself that I can't please everyone. And I've written for
Yeah.
lots of online magazines before, and I've had comments, like
Yeah.
trolling, and you kind of, I'm quite sort of, I'm quite a sensitive person, but with stuff like that, I don't really care. I just kind of think, well, I don't love everything I read. So, and I wouldn't declare that online, but I wouldn't,
Yes.
but I totally understand that not my books aren't going to be everyone's cup of tea. And that's
No.
okay. We all like different things. We all like different clothes,
Yeah.
different foods,
Yeah.
the same with books and film, and that's
100%.
okay.
Yeah. And I
And
think I was talking to someone else the other week actually about like I'm quite a mood reader as well. So depending on when I read, or time of the year or time of the day, like again, it depends on whether I get like captivated by that book or not. So
yeah.
again, I think it's, and I'm like you, if I read a book and I don't necessarily enjoy it, I'm not someone to go out there and say, hey, this was rubbish. Like I'm just not one of those
Yeah.
people. Unfortunately, there are people in the world
Yeah.
who have to express that. Um, but I think, yeah, like what you just said, everyone's got varied opinions, haven't they? So if
Yeah,
you
I have.
tried to please everybody, you just wouldn't listen to your own intuition about what you want to write. So I think you probably
Exactly.
have to develop a little bit of a thicker skin at times, don't
You
you?
do. And I think you have to, I've told myself that when you have something that's out in the public domain, it's very much
Mm,
there to be torn apart. It's like
yeah,
movies, celebrities, books, whatever. Not that
yeah,
I'm putting myself on the same level, but you know what I mean? Anything that's out in the public space,
yeah,
a meme, an Instagram post, anything that's out
yeah,
in public space is there to be torn apart. And I think, it is easy to forget that there's someone who's labored for a year over
yeah,
writing this thing, or more than a year. So, but yes, opinions, of course, people, I don't expect everyone to like everything, but you kind of hope
yeah,
to.
yeah,
And you can't,
yeah,
and that's why you have to just write what you enjoy, and,
yeah.
and hope that it hits the right note with readers. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So you mentioned earlier about like your first novel, your friend mentioned bus swingers in their schools. Like, where else do you find inspiration from?
Oh my gosh, everywhere. People, places particularly recently. So, my fourth book, The Private Island, was set on an island in Fiji, and I've been there a few times with my family. And every time I went there, I was like, this place is going to be in a murder mystery that I'm going to write at some point.
Yeah.
So that really inspired me. When I wrote The Running Club, it was based
Mhm.
loosely on two places. One of them was where I was walking my dog during COVID. Because there's no one around and we're all desperate to get outside. And I was walking around this track and there were runners running like 1.5 meters apart to keep with the COVID rules. And I knew that's where the idea for the running club came. But we'd also been down south just before that, and we'd stayed in this amazing place called Conjuron Point, and there'd been this kind of bushy walk track down to the beach, and it was kind of
Mhm.
overhanging the trees. And I did the walk on my own once without the family, and I was like, this is really spooky. And so when I wrote the murder into the running club, it
Yeah.
that was what was in my mind. So it can be, or it can be something I read in the newspaper, or it can be a joke someone tells me, or a story like my friend telling me about the swingers. It can be
Yeah.
anything. The cruise ship was just me thinking, oh, I'd love to set something aboard a cruise. And then I went that this is for the second wife. And then I went to a school event for my son's school, and one of the parents happened to be like quite high up for in a cruise line company. So she took me
Yeah.
on board a cruise liner in Sydney Harbour and took me
Nice.
downstairs to where, all the crazy stuff happens, where there's a doctor's surgery, a police
Wow.
cell, a morgue, you know, uh, staff kitchens, staff rooms, everything. And that was just so inspiring that I literally went home and started writing. So
Wow.
inspiration can honestly, it can come from anywhere. It can be, you know, a newspaper story, a book I'm reading, anything. It's
Yeah.
yeah. I guess I'm just looking out for it everywhere.
It's so interesting though when you get to like do the research for your books as well. I mean, because you just never would comprehend that there's a police cell or a doctor's surgery on a cruise
Well,
ship.
no.
My mum would never go down that route, but yeah,
Yeah.
it actually makes like perfect sense, doesn't it, to have
Yeah.
those things there?
Well, apparently it's quite common. I mean, I was talking to a friend of mine who, a friend's husband, who is a pilot, and he was saying, "You won't believe the amount of people that die on planes." And I was like, "What do you do with them?" So I stick them out back in the back toilet, if it's free. It's just like, oh my goodness, all these things that you just wouldn't think that
Oh,
happen in normal life, and things that go on
yeah,
behind the scenes. And that's what really interests me in my books is
yeah,
you know, the staff or what goes on below sea level in these cruise
yes,
ships, because that's where all the staff are, and that's where all
yeah,
the kind of the stuff happens and the intrigue and the secrets are.
yeah. Had
Um,
you always wanted to write in this genre? Like, was when you first started out, you were like, okay, this is where I want to take it.
yeah, I had really because I grew up reading Agatha Christie novels.
Yeah.
So and also you would know this, they sort of like, the Miss Marples and
Yes.
Joan Hickson as Miss Marple in the
Yeah.
UK and Peter Ustinov and David Suchet and,
Yeah.
I would devour
Yeah.
them. And, my dad had all of the books in a row and we didn't have loads of books in our house, but we did have all the Agatha Christie novels. So I would
Mhm.
go backwards and forwards, reading these and love them and watching the TV shows
Mhm.
obsessively. And then, there was a really good PD James series on. I don't know if you remember this, called Devices and Desires on TV. And I was
Oh, I don't
obsessed
think I
with
can
that. And it was
actually.
really gruesome, but it was so good. And yeah, I've always loved that. I mean, my favorite
Yeah.
book's Rebecca, which is like the
Yeah.
ultimate, one of the first kind of ultimate domestic noirs. So I
Yeah.
think I've always loved the twisty and the macabre
Yeah.
and the thriller element.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was kind of a natural progression. So
The
I won't
the
give you
UK
advice on
do
romcom, put it that way.
yeah, the UK do that really well actually, don't they?
I mean, Lisa Jewell, oh my goodness, she's
Oh,
amazing.
I know.
Authors do it well, not just the TV shows. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very true, it's very true. And yeah, I mean, I always say that, most of the things we watch are like suspense thrillers or something like that. And actually, when we moved back to the UK, my partner, he was like, God, they're like on all the time, aren't they? And I was like, yeah,
I
they are,
know.
yeah, because everyone loves them. That's
Yeah,
why. So
true.
yeah,
What is it about the
good.
UK? Why do us Brits love all that stuff? What's wrong
Anything
with
like
us?
dark and yeah, I don't know, but we do it so well. That's why.
Yeah, we do. Beeb, it's
Yeah.
nothing like the Beeb, is there?
No, nothing like it. No. Um, so tell us a bit more about. I mean, you just touched on your latest novel that's coming out. This is your sixth book, correct?
This is number 5.
What number five? Sorry, number
Yeah, no,
five.
that's right, number
Getting
5.
ahead of
Number
myself.
6 is actually submitted and ready to go. I'm waiting
Yeah,
for edits to come back, so
yeah,
any day now. Scary.
yeah. Are you just quickly on that then? So when you submitted your first manuscript and you got an offer letter, the process after that for you, was it quite like straightforward? Did they always get first refusal, or were they offering you like a number of book deals at a time?
I was offered a 2-book deal by
Yeah.
Hodder. And then I think the trivia night had been on sale maybe 6 months or something. And then I signed for 3 and 4.
Hmm.
So it just worked like that. Yeah. So it's been
Nice.
2, 2 and 2. Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, so that was really good. I don't know whether it's quite as common to get 2 books as a debut
Yeah,
these days, but
yeah,
haven't heard of it as much, but I think snuck in, like,
yes, yeah.
in 2020, and I was lucky.
Yeah, I actually think, I think nowadays, some of the debuts that I've been speaking to have just got one, and then they
Yeah,
see how that goes. Although I did speak to someone in America recently, and she got, I think it was HarperCollins, she got an instant 2-book deal. Maybe that's just something that her agent,
yeah.
had negotiated, but more around kind of, a couple in the UK and actually a couple here that I've been speaking to, they just got 1-book deal, and I think maybe it's just they wanna see how it goes, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
maybe it's
then
like a post-COVID thing, everyone's a bit more
yeah,
cautious. I don't know. But
yeah.
I was lucky. So it's been 2 and 2 and 2 for me, but who knows what's next? I don't know. Fingers
Well,
crossed.
you're established now, so I'm sure, like, your books keep selling,
Oh,
they're gonna want to keep
geez.
publishing
No,
you.
I just need Netflix on board.
I know, or the BBC. I mean, Netflix is much bigger,
Yeah.
but yeah. There's more and more books that are being adapted though, and,
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
yeah, I think it's great because yeah, get more of your stories out there, and it just, yeah, gets your name out there
Oh
as
god, there'd
well.
be some really great ones. Like the All Her Fault, Andrea Mara's All Her Fault was
Yes.
fantastic with Sarah Snook. Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Actually, there's a lot more Australian books that are being, because even when I was in the UK, there was a couple of series that we could still get over there that are from Australian authors, and they were really good. And I
yeah.
actually keep seeing more and more come out. So I don't know how people do it, whether it's just, someone picks up the book and thinks that'll be a great idea and then reaches out to the publisher. But yeah, I think
Yeah, I don't
we'll
know,
probably
book
see a lot more.
fairs and things like that as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe just keep saying on your Instagram how,
Yeah.
this would make a really good TV series.
Yeah. That would be nice. Well, actually, the school run has been optioned,
Yeah,
which is book number 3, and the trivia night was optioned,
yeah.
back in the day. So fingers crossed, one day, one day.
What happens with that then? Do they just come out, or do they reach out to you, have a chat, and then they have to make a decision, or what does that look
Yeah,
like?
they sort of, well, they'll, they might want to option your book, and then you'll have a chat with them about what they're thinking.
Yeah,
And then they would offer to option it. And then basically what they do is they take it off the market, they option it, take it off the market and see if they can get the crew together in order to produce it.
yeah.
And a lot of books do get optioned and nothing ends up happening.
Mm,
Obviously, some get optioned and things do end up happening. So
yeah,
it's sort of an added bonus to have an option, but it doesn't
yeah,
guarantee anything because there's a lot of moving parts that have to pull together to actually make the show.
yeah,
So, in my opinion, optioning is really lovely and you keep your fingers crossed and it's an added
yeah,
bonus. But it doesn't necessarily guarantee it, anything, but you
yeah.
hope it might do.
Yes, yes. Well, you never know. I think things evolve so quickly, and it's all about, like as you were saying when you first started writing your first novel. It's like all about timing as well. If you didn't have
Yeah.
those interactions to lift you up and give you the confidence, then you may have never started, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. Everything's about timing and what
yeah,
networks are looking for and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So challenges then. What if you were to look back? Like, what would you say has been some of your challenges that you've had to overcome?
So I kind of thinking that there hasn't been anything really major. Like,
Hmm.
I don't think there have been any huge, crazy challenges that I've faced.
Yeah,
But there have been sort of daily challenges. So, timings, and you might have your edits through at the time your book is launching. You might have like 2 months of quiet time when you're just
yeah,
thinking about ideas and maybe jotting down a few things, and then suddenly your edits come in and your book's been launched and you've got promotion, and suddenly you're then you know doing you're going off and you're exploring for your next book and you're
yeah,
researching,
yeah,
so you suddenly have all this stuff. And I think that's one thing I always thought I was quite a good multitasker because I think you have to be in newspapers because you're writing different
yeah,
stories at any given time. But I do sometimes find that a bit hard when you've got all this stuff going on. And I've only got a certain window from 9 till 3 to do it because I've got, before 9, I'm mum. And after
yeah,
3, I'm mum. So 9 till 3 are my working hours. So
yeah,
that's quite, can sometimes be quite full on. I suppose a challenge for me at the beginning was I was worried about being public facing.
yeah,
Worried about having to put myself out there in terms of not just public speaking, because I was quite terrified of that at the beginning because I've never done much of it.
Yeah.
But really putting myself out there, as in, putting posts on Instagram and thinking, oh God, is that a bit cringe? And oh no, what do people think I'm an idiot? And, having to get over that and just have a
Yeah.
word with yourself and say, well, don't be ridiculous. This is your brand. This is your, you've just got to get on with it.
Yeah.
And now I do really enjoy all of that side of it. And the public speaking thing I really enjoy.
Yeah.
But I think there's certain little hurdles that you think, oh gosh, will I be good at that? And that you have more confidence as you go along and the more
Yeah.
books you have. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I suppose those would be, but they weren't even big challenges. They were just probably things in my head where I was sort of doubting myself.
Yeah.
Um, but I had to tell myself to shut up and, get
Yeah.
on with it. But yeah, other than that, I think probably just, you know, multitasking when at busy times can be quite
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine actually that, I mean, the whole throw the kids into the mix, right? Especially
Yeah.
school hours. It's not actually that much time that you get in the day, right? When you
No, it's
time you
like
drop
6
them off.
hours, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that goes so
And
quickly.
then you have a chat with a couple of mums at the gate, and then it's like 9:30, and you're like, "Oh god," then I'll just get myself a coffee on the way home, and it's
Yeah.
10.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's so true. And then I don't know about your school, but like we don't live that far from our son's school. So I tend to make him walk,
mm,
which he absolutely detests every time. But I'm like, I'm not driving up there because it is so chaotic.
yeah.
I'd have to leave at least half an hour before to get a parking space. So
Yeah.
I'm like, no, we're walking.
Well,
'Cause
you're getting your steps in, that's a good thing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I know. Now that we're here, I honestly make a conscious effort. I'm like, it's not raining, just get outside and do
Yeah,
something.
I know. It's so muggy though, isn't it?
It's really muggy this year. Even my friend said, she was like, it hasn't been like this the last couple of years. Because I was like, oh, it's but the sun hasn't been out too much, but it's like a bit more overcast, but still very muggy. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
so
very
hot, isn't
humid
it?
environment.
But the thing is you
Yeah.
can't complain to anyone in the UK about the heat because 'cause they're just like, "Yeah, whatever.
I
Been
know.
raining here for 6 weeks."
Yeah, they're like, we've had
Freezing.
snow, and I'm like, okay.
I know. Fair enough. Won't moan anymore.
Yeah, it's so true. And then what about your author community? Because I saw one of your posts, obviously you've got a lot of author friends that live in obviously Sydney especially, but how did that come about? Just through events and Instagram and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a welcoming,
Mm,
inclusive community. Like, we're just all sounds really naff, but we are sort of united by the fact that we love writing and we love books and we love going
yeah,
to book events and we love supporting one another. And
yeah,
I'm really lucky because on the beaches there's a big group of us as well. So we
yeah,
quite often meet for coffee probably once a week.
yeah,
We
that's
go off,
nice.
down the coast, up the coast,
Yeah,
stay in various Airbnbs and have lovely writing retreats together. And
that's good.
yeah, I've been really lucky. I mean, that kind of support is really invaluable because we're kind of doing a job that's very solitary.
Yeah,
It's not like we're going into an office every day. We're sitting on our own for eight
yeah,
hours or
yeah,
6 hours, you know, writing nonstop. So to have that outlet, usually in the evenings because it's events or a
yes,
coffee during the day is really important to me. And just, someone who understands what it's like when you're halfway through a book and you think it's the worst thing you've ever written and you just need someone to say, you were like this last time. You
yeah,
were like this with the last book. You thought it was terrible and it was fine. Just hang on in there. And, that's
yeah.
what we do for each other. And it's, God, making me really emotional. It's such a lovely community and it's such an important part of my life.
Yeah.
These people. So it's, yeah, I've been very lucky.
Yeah. And it's crazy how you said at the start about, even like having author friends that maybe you haven't met before, but you're friends with them on Facebook
Yeah.
or Instagram. And it's like you feel like you know them and you still champion each other, right? And it's just, I
Yeah.
think there's an unwritten code there that, yeah,
Yeah.
every author that I've spoken to has been like lovely. And even like the other day, like yesterday, I went to Dimmocks and one of the authors that I'd interviewed late last year, she's a UK author and I saw her book in Dimmocks and I bought it and then I
Oh.
shared it and she was like, "Oh my God, I'm in Sydney." And I was like, "Oh, I like that must just feel amazing to her, right?" Because
Oh,
she's
who
like,
is that?
that was Lulu Morris. And
Oh, lovely.
yeah, and she I think she just never thought that her book would be over here. And yeah, it's quite
Yeah.
surprising when someone must pick it up and it was like I said to her, it was like as I walked in, it was on like the main
Oh,
page. It was
that's lovely.
near like Pip Drysdale's one as well. They were all there, and I was just like, oh, it's so nice. Like,
I saw you'd interview Pip. She's gorgeous, isn't
yes.
she?
Oh, she's lovely. Yeah, yeah, lovely. So like, just such a genuine and gentle soul. And
Yeah, she is.
I bought her latest because we were talking about like how she'd kind of created the book, and she'd said, you know, about watching Vampire Diaries and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I thought, yeah, I used to love those, but I haven't like
Same.
watched or anything for such a while, like such a long time now. So I said, I'm going to go and buy a book because I feel like I need to go
Oh,
back in that era and
oh, I know.
translating a
Big Blood
vampire.
Days, they're amazing. Well, I actually went to Pip's launch last week and it was gorgeous. So it's
Oh,
beside my bed and I can't wait to read it.
oh,
She's a
amazing. And
legend.
you have an event coming up at Squires Landing, which is like an
I
amazing,
do.
beautiful location.
Yes.
Um,
And I chose that because I wanted there to be a cruise ship outside. So there is actually on the night of my launch, there's going to be a cruise ship in Circular Quay, which is very exciting.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that will be really lovely. And yeah, a few events coming up. So I'm going to Canberra for the first time, which is
Yeah,
really exciting. I can't believe in 20 years I've not been to Canberra, which is really
yeah.
embarrassing.
I've
So I'm
driven
very
I've
excited to do that.
yeah, I've driven part, or maybe I've stayed there once, but yeah, I don't know if it's a
That's
location that you would
awful.
yeah, I know.
It's really bad, isn't it? But Emma Gray's doing that chat, and
Yeah,
lovely Holly Wainwright's doing the chats at Squires Landing. I used to work with
yeah.
Holly, so that would be really nice. And then I've got a couple in New South Wales, and I'm going to Melbourne in June. So yes,
Oh,
I'm going to
lovely.
be round and about, which is nice.
Yeah. Is that, do you find that's like the fun part of it as well of
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I do. It's really nice doing that. Just kind of meeting readers in different cities is really cool.
Mhm.
And I usually go with an author friend. So I'm going to
Yeah.
Melbourne with Kate Horan. We're going to do an
Yeah.
event together. And Vanessa McCausland, who's my work wife, she'll be
Yeah.
coming with me. We're going to Canberra together and we're going to have a day of shopping and drinking coffee and
Oh,
going
I
to
love
bookshops.
that.
So that would be really nice. Yeah. So yeah, it is. It's fun. That's the nice part. Well, one of the
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, it's probably one of those moments where like when you look back and everything that you've put into that book and like the ups and downs that you've faced and you know the blocks that you've hit, that now you see it in publication and like a physical copy, and then you get to celebrate it. That must
Yeah.
be
Well, also just
amazing.
going down to Melbourne and remembering that my book's not just sold in Sydney, you know,
Yeah,
kind of seeing it on in Dymocks in Melbourne or
yeah,
readings, whatever, and you just think, oh, this is amazing.
yeah,
I've forgotten that actually it's gone across the whole country and that it's in
yeah,
England as well, and it's all a bit
yeah.
bonkers, really.
Do you ever get to do any tours in the UK?
Last year when I went back to the UK, I got to do a really good writers' festival, which was
Yeah.
really fun in Hertfordshire.
Good. That's good. Getting a lot more independent bookshops over there now, which I've actually seen like a increase. The difference between 2 years, like coming back, there's a lot more independent bookshops in Sydney now, actually,
Yeah.
than there was before I left, which is really nice to
Oh,
see.
really? Just in that break? Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. Because I know obviously the bigger chains, but yeah, I keep seeing them in different locations, not necessarily in the city, like in more of the suburbs, but
Yeah.
yeah, I always love going to visit them, so they're going to be on my
On your
to-do list.
radar. Yeah.
Yeah. So where can people find you, Ali? Obviously on Instagram. Is that your major platform that
Yeah, I'm
you're on?
mostly on Instagram. I did go onto Substack. I think I wrote 2 things and then I was like, Substack's really complicated. I don't know how to get from one thing to the next. So I kind of let that slide, but I will
Yeah.
at some point go back on Substack. But I'm not on Threads, or is that what it's called now? Or I can't even remember what they were called.
Yeah, I'm not on there either. Yeah.
I'm just on Instagram and Facebook. And I have a
Nice.
website as well. Where
Perfect.
I list all my events and all the events go up on Insta as well.
Oh, lovely. Lovely. So Second Wife is available from the 12th of March.
Yes, it is. Oh my
Excellent.
goodness, I'm so excited for this one.
Yeah. And I did see your event has sold out, which is phenomenal for you,
It
right?
has.
So
Yeah.
unfortunately no tickets, but you know, it's
Oh,
I'm glad it's going to go really, really well for
oh,
you.
thank you. Well, I'll post lots of pics.
Yes. Yeah. Well, look, I'm wishing you all the best, and I know everyone's going to love your story, and I love you because you're a fellow Brit as well.
To a pop.
No, I know. I forget. Everyone's like, you're a Pommy. It's like, oh, I haven't heard that for a few
I
years.
know.
Oh, okay, brilliant.
Oh, lovely to chat.
You
Thank you.
too.